Okay, whatever we're doing over here, it's definitely not permutation, all right, not permutation. And in fact, instead of like permutation, what we're doing, it's like combination. Combination referring to having, like, say, unique values, and as such, that when you see over here is that is unique values. So say for example, if I have like a value 232, it will be considered the same as this item, and we don't want that, right? So that's what we are trying to create. And how we're going to create is that each time we go to maybe say the next step. So for this case, we included the 2, right? In our next following step that we actually echo towards the right side is that we will cancel out the 2. So like for this side, there's a 2, and here we echo that there's no more 2 to be included. And as you can see here, it's just a 3, and once we have like the 3 over here, same thing, we're going to remove, and this time around only can start with like a 6. So right now this item, whatever is like talking, is that in its own head is that there can't be any 2 over here, and this guy, whatever it is saying, is that I can't include both the 2 and I can't include the 3 at all. And the last guy, he can't include the 2, he can't include the 3, he can't include the 6, he only can include itself at the very end. It's very, very sad. But the more left side where we go, the less echo it has, the more combination we can get, and we can get a 6, and it can have like as a 7 as a combi. But obviously because 7 is so big that it doesn't reach the target, they didn't bother to actually draw it out. And obviously for the 3, it does have like the possibility of like saying that because no more 2, but you still can include the 6 and the 7s, but it's too big for the target value, therefore they didn't even bother to include it in. But as you can see, for the 2, it's the happiest because it doesn't have any restrictions. It can include the 3, it can include the 6, but obviously the 6 will just means that it will become the 8 and eventually get cancelled off. It still can include the 7, which becomes the 9, and it get cancelled off. So 2 being the happiest, and least happy for all these other folks. So if you were to actually branch it out like singularly, is that the item that of the choice is that do I put the 2 or I don't have the 2 at all. So under this umbrella, it's like no 2s at all. Here's all the 2s there is. And then you sort of like recurse into the following, is that is either I have the 2 or the empty. And then do I have the 2 or the empty? Until it reaches like this number, like 8, there's no point for me to actually ask this question anymore. So but for here, there's still like a the next possibility. Remember like 2 of like how happy it is that it can have every single combination in the world. So we can ask whether okay maybe because after doing the 2s, you now can do the 3s. So it's just a 3 or the empty. And for this case, I had a 3, and I do get the target value. And over here, like after we run through like an item, we don't bring it forward. It's been echoed. So no more 2, no more 3, and just left with the 6 and the 7. and obviously we add a 6, we become a 10, add a 7, become 11, both are being sort of like invalid. So it gets less and less number of like ways for it to include. Here's the end of the 2, here's the end of the 3, and here is the 6 and the 7s. You sort of like deplete. And now you come to here, obviously 2 or the empty, and now the next you can keep on trying to move forward. If you actually see, whatever they are doing is operation Z, where they sort of like echo it, like echo it forward. So it's like casting the operation Z over to here, and what's going to actually happen is that now I can't cast a spell of like 2 anymore because I'm being echoed from this side. So is it either the 3 or the empty. And now like the reason why they cancel it is because as we echo forward, as we cast the operation Z, it's like limited ourselves with just a 6 and 7, and it's out of the options. And then now we come to here, we try to cast the operation Z, echo it forwards, we left with 8, and the 6 and the 7 is all been cancelled out. I mean, you come over to here, you've been echo forward, right? You cast the operation Z over to here, you're left with 3, so 3 or empty, cool. But the thing is like, I'm actually trying to ask that we cast a 3 and an empty over here, right? So is a 3 or an empty? Can we cast like another 3 or empty over here once again? Is it possible? I think this item is like possible. Just that they didn't write it out because they know that eventually it doesn't hit the target like 7 at all, because all the numbers are so big. I believe that's why. But then they go on like, I mean, you echo forward 3 and an empty, and then 6 with an empty, and then 7 with an empty, and then eventually you only find one last value of like a combination of a 7 over here, and then you return this 7 and this result and this result back to the system. And if you were to see, like everything, it just obeys the rules of like operation Z, where it just echo forward throughout. Like after like this whole thing, yeah, sure, you go until this deep, you're gonna like do the same echo effect. Let's say, okay, now no more 2, and then here now no more the 3, and then eventually you only left with like the 6 and the 7s, which is the remains of here. And from what we see throughout the entirety of all these different items is that what they actually am doing a lot to do with is casting the spell split. And when you talk about like the split spell, immediately reminds you of like tree, or it can remind you of backtracking. And it has like the need for me to actually find the number of like combinations available. So it involves like finding the combinations available. And when it's coming with like a combination, I believe then it will fall under the category of backtracking already of the character. And whatever the Leetcode question is like asking in terms of like the rulebook, it's really comes down to actually asking that I want unique. I don't want permutations in my list. And when you talk about that, you straight away will start to think about, okay, I need to do some form of like a combination list, a unique combination list, and therefore we need to apply the spell effect of like echo effect. And this echo effect is like popping the last value as we echo it forward. And all these are the spells that we've used from our character. And luckily for this topic of like backtracking, there's not much of like operations for us to actually write out, because it has to do with a lot of like recursion, where you kind of like echo it forward, right? It's all of like similar operations that's been recursive throughout the entire tree, right? And that's what we have been doing so far. And yep, with that, everything comes to